This is an ABP Life podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we mankind have did it again. The human population has surpassed the 8 billion mark. Why wouldn't it? I mean, a record number of people got married during the COVID lockdown. I remember even those relatives of mine who used to say, I'm never gonna get married, got hitched. Even my ex did. Anyway, some kid who was born on Tuesday was the 8 billionth human on earth. Some are saying that this is a huge achievement for humanity, a big feat, while others are saying that this will have repercussions in the near future, a matter of concern. Reports have also stated that India will overtake China and become the most populated country in the world. But now the big question is, how will the 8 billion population mark affect the world? Is it good or bad? Will India really overtake China to become the most populated country? Let's decode all of this today. So welcome to Clear Cut, only on ABP Live podcast. This is your newsman Rudrashish, and today let's talk about mankind surpassing 8 billion people. So let's get started. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in a statement that the 8 billion population mark is an occasion to celebrate diversity and achievements while considering humanity's shared responsibility for the planet. The United Nations has highlighted that humans live longer today because of development and improvements in health services, nutrition, hygiene, and modern medicine. The United Nations has also stressed that fertility rates are higher, particularly in the poorest countries like Sub-Saharan Africa. The United Nations Population Fund said, the growth of our population is a testament to humanity's achievements, including reductions in poverty and gender inequality, advancements in healthcare, and expanded access to education. These have resulted in more women surviving childbirth, more children surviving their early years, and longer, healthier lifespans decade after decade. However, there's a cause of concern here as well. The UN Under Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs, Liu Zhenmin, has said that speedy population growth can lead to high rates of hunger and poverty in the world. Liu Zhenmin said rapid population growth makes eradicating poverty, combating hunger and malnutrition, and increasing the coverage of health and education systems more difficult. Some are even saying that 8 billion humans are way too much for planet Earth. But experts have highlighted that the number of people, the 8 billion population, is not the concern. The bigger problem is the consumption of resources by the wealthiest population. The United Nations Population Fund Chief Natalia Kanem said, I am here to say clearly that the sheer number of human lives is not a cause of fear. But the concern is the consumption of natural resources by the wealthiest people, which is very small in number, but their consumption is very high. And by the consumption of natural resources, I mean when big businessmen cut out forests, take out lands every year, more than the planet can regenerate. And also the high consumption of fossil fuels, which will eventually lead to more carbon dioxide emissions, which will then lead to global warming. Now, an interesting point in the report is that the global population is now growing at its lowest pace since 1950. It has fallen under 1% in 2020. Now, this means that mankind has surely passed the 8 billion mark, but the growth rate, the population growth rate, is low. It has slowed down over the years. It has been projected in the report that the world population will be around 8.5 billion in 2030 and 9.7 billion in 2050, around 10.4 billion during the 2080s, and it will remain at that level until 2100. Now let's come to India. What has been said about India in the report? So according to the UN report, India will overtake China as the world's most populous country in 2023. Currently, India has a population of 1.412 billion in 2022. China has a population of 1.426 billion. But by 2050, India will have a population of 1.668 billion. And on the other hand, China will have a population of just 1.317 billion. It's also interesting to note that the report has highlighted that India is the home to the world's largest adolescent population, which is between 10 to 19 years. Now, I'm saying this in such a way that this is a huge celebrating moment for India and the world, right? But honestly, it's not exactly that. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said that unless we bridge the yawning chasm between the global haves and have-nots, we are setting ourselves up for an 8 billion strong world filled with tensions and mistrust, crisis and conflict. He also said that a handful of billionaires control as much wealth as the poorest half of the world. The top 1% globally pockets 1/5 of the world's income, while people in the richest countries can expect to live up to 30 years longer than those in the poorest. As the world has grown richer and healthier in recent decades, these inequalities have grown too. Yes, Mr. Antonio Guterres has rightly pointed out that the number of population, the 8 billion mark, is not the issue. The issue is the concentration of wealth and the consumption of Earth's natural resources by these billionaires, the wealthiest of the wealthy. These are the issue. The wealthy people are the issue. And now to speak further on this, we have Mr. Alok Vajpayee from the Population Foundation of India joining us on the show today.
So welcome to Clear Cut, sir. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So sir, the human population on Earth has surpassed the 8 billion mark. बहुत लोग बोल रहे हैं कि this is an achievement for mankind, for humanity, कि 8 billion mark cross हो गया. वहीं कुछ और लोग ये भी बोल रहे हैं कि इसके कुछ repercussions भी होंगे, कुछ bad effects भी होंगे. So can you tell us the good and bad sides of the 8 billion population mark?
Sure. The world's population reached 8 billion mark yesterday. It is more of a symbolic than anything else because this was announced in an UN report last July actually. It was already there in the UN report and this event took place yesterday that 8 billionth baby was born yesterday. So this report also said that the global population is growing at its slowest speed or pace, which means the annual growth rate was less than 1%. इसका मतलब ये है कि world population is stabilizing across the world. While it took 12 years for the world population to reach from 7 to 8 billion, it will take approximately 15 years until 2037 to reach 9 billion, which indicates population growth is slowing down. So, same is the case with India also. India's population India will be the most populous country. It will overtake China next year.
Exactly.
But as is the case with world population, India's population growth rate is also declining along with the total fertility rate. So there is no population explosion as such or baby boom as such, and there is no need for concern. I see the 8 billion people as an opportunity actually to plan better and provide an healthy and happy life for all. I see the population as a strength and as a creator of resources. So educated and skilled population can create resources. So इसको मैं पॉजिटिव रूप में ही लेता हूँ. इसका resources are definitely, there is concern that resources are limited. Yes, resources are not infinite, but I think we can manage that. Is about the equal distribution of the resources. Right now, a very small portion of people are using most of Earth's resources and produce most of the greenhouse gas emissions. तो पिछले अगर 25 साल में अगर आप देखेंगे, the richest 10% of global population has been responsible for more than
उन्होंने सबसे ज्यादा कंजम्पशन किया है इस रिसोर्सेज का.
जी. तो ये अनसस्टेनेबल जो पैटर्न ऑफ प्रोडक्शन है, कंजम्पशन है, इसको रोकने की जरूरत है.
अभी आपने बताया कि जो वर्ल्ड का पॉपुलेशन है ये अभी स्लोएस्ट रेट पे है सिंस 1950. यूएन के पॉपुलेशन रिपोर्ट में भी ये कहा गया है. सो ये क्यों, व्हाई डू यू थिंक द पॉपुलेशन रेट हैज बिकम सो स्लो? कोई रीजन है स्पेसिफिक इसके पीछे?
इसके पीछे रीजन ये है कि जो फर्टिलिटी जो रेट्स थे पहले बहुत ज्यादा थे, हाई थे, उसमें कमी आई है. फर्टिलिटी रेट्स हैज डिक्लाइंड एवरीवेयर इंक्लूडिंग इन इंडिया आल्सो. इंडिया की बात करें तो आप देखेंगे वी हैव अचीव्ड रिप्लेसमेंट लेवल ऑफ टोटल फर्टिलिटी रेट. सो इसका मतलब है कि हम दो बच्चों को, एक महिला 2 बच्चों को ही जन्म दे रही है, विच इज गुड एनफ टू रिप्लेस वन जनरेशन फ्रॉम द अदर. तो ये और तमाम मेडिकल सुविधाएं बढ़ी हैं, हेल्थ केयर फैसिलिटीज बढ़ी हैं. तो मुझको लगता है इन सब के चलते हुए ये पॉपुलेशन जो है स्टेबलाइज कर रही है.
अच्छा. My last question is, it is said that population growth is not the problem. मतलब population, बहुत लोग जो बोल रहे हैं कि इतना ज्यादा 8 बिलियन हो गया, अब अर्थ के रिसोर्सेज पे बहुत स्ट्रेन होगा, अर्थ के क्लाइमेट के लिए बहुत बुरा है. बट यूएन बता रहे हैं कि द पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ इज नॉट द प्रॉब्लम. बट ये जो कुछ वेल्दिएस्ट लोग हैं, जो सबसे अमीर लोग हैं, वो जो रिसोर्सेज ड्रेन करते हैं, वो सबसे बड़ा दिक्कत है. तो आपके मुताबिक व्हाट कैन बी डन एज अ सोल्यूशन फॉर द इवनली डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एंड कंजम्पशन ऑफ रिसोर्सेज?
ये सरकार को बेहतर ढंग से प्लान करना पड़ेगा, और जो गवर्नेंस है हेल्थ सेक्टर में और डेवलपमेंट के जो गवर्नेंस हैं उनको इम्प्रूव करना पड़ेगा. जो हमारा डेवलपमेंट जो कंट्रीज कर रहे हैं, इकोनॉमी जो ग्रो कर रही है, उसका बेनिफिट सबको मिले, ये सरकार को इंश्योर करना पड़ेगा. हमारी सरकार भी उसी की बात करती है कि वी मस्ट रीच टू द लास्ट माइल. So it is important that last mile is reached through all the resources, through better planning. जैसे हमने कोविड में बड़े अच्छे ढंग से फूड जो अवेलेबिलिटी है उसको इंश्योर किया, हमारी जो पॉपुलेशन है, जो पुअर मार्जिनलाइज्ड लेबरर्स हैं, उन तक पहुंचाया गवर्नमेंट ने. तो वैसे ही मुझको लगता है करने की जरूरत है. और मुझको एक बात और मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि population is slowing down, that is true, but women still have high unmet need for family planning, which means that they are not able to use the family planning services either because these are not available or they don't have agency to access the services. So उस चीज को गवर्नमेंट को एड्रेस करना पड़ेगा. अनमेट नीड जो है फैमिली प्लानिंग की, ये भी डेटा है कि वीमेन डोंट वांट मोर देन 2 चिल्ड्रन, सो दे वांट स्मॉलर फैमिलीज बट दे आर नॉट यूजिंग द फैमिली प्लानिंग मेथड्स. तो गवर्नमेंट मस्ट इंश्योर दैट फैमिली प्लानिंग सर्विसेज रीच टू द लास्ट माइल. दूसरी बात मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि हमारी जो पॉपुलेशन है वो यंग पॉपुलेशन है, वो हमारी बहुत बड़ी स्ट्रेंथ है. अगर हम देखें तो एवरी 5th पर्सन इन द कंट्री इज एन एडोलसेंट इन द एज ग्रुप ऑफ 10 to 19 ईयर्स, and every third person is a young person in the age of 10 to 24 years. तो जरूरत इस बात की है कि हम इस जो हमारी यंग पॉपुलेशन है इसमें इन्वेस्ट करें. डेमोग्राफर्स इसको कहते हैं डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड इंडिया के पास है क्योंकि बहुत बड़ी यंग पॉपुलेशन है. तो गवर्नमेंट मस्ट अर्जेंटली एंड ग्रेटली स्टेप अप इन्वेस्टमेंट्स into the health, nutrition, education, vocational training, skills and employability of the young population. Whatever government plans, actually, adolescents and youths must be at the center of their policies, investments and programs.
All right. सर आपने जैसे मेंशन किया कि इंडिया अगले साल तक चाइना को ओवरटेक कर लेगी एंड इंडिया विल बी द कंट्री विद द बिगेस्ट पॉपुलेशन, विद द हाईएस्ट नंबर ऑफ पॉपुलेशन. तो इंडिया का कोई ऐसा थ्रेशोल्ड लेवल है कि इंडिया के लिए इससे ज्यादा पॉपुलेशन एक डेंजर लेवल है? तो ऐसा कोई बेंचमार्क है इंडिया के लिए?
नहीं, ये हमेशा नहीं बढ़ती रहेगी पॉपुलेशन. एक्चुअली यूएन जो रिपोर्ट का हवाला हम दे रहे हैं उसके अनुसार इंडिया की जो पॉपुलेशन है वो पीक करेगी 2061 में जाकर सबसे ज्यादा अधिकतम स्तर पे पहुंचेगी. देन इट विल स्टार्ट डिक्लाइनिंग और 2100 में करीब ये 1 बिलियन के करीब होगी. तो एक और स्टडी है जो कि इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ हेल्थ मैट्रिक्स एंड इवैल्यूएशन यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ वॉशिंगटन ने की थी. इसके अनुसार इंडिया की पॉपुलेशन 2048 में ही पीक करेगी और उस समय इंडिया की पॉपुलेशन 1.6 बिलियन होगी. उसके बाद धीमे धीमे डिक्लाइन होगा. 2100 में इंडिया की पॉपुलेशन 1.1 बिलियन हो जाएगी, रह जाएगी.
Okay.
तो एक पीक तक जाएगी, उसके बाद डिक्लाइन ही होगा. ये हमेशा नहीं बढ़ती रहेगी ये.
ओके. तो एक टाइम के बाद ये पॉपुलेशन ऊपर जाते जाते फिर नीचे भी आएगी.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
ओके. Sir, thank you so much for your precious time and thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you.
So that's all the news and scoops I have for you today. This episode was produced by Lalit. This is your newsman Rudrashish Kanjilal signing off. Have a wonderful day ahead and keep listening to ABP Live podcasts.
This is an ABP Live podcast.